So right now, the Straits of Hormuz, a 20-mile waterway that is a choke point for all this oil and gas, we know those straits have a lot of mines in them. Like I said just now, we got 16 million barrels out of the Strait of Hormuz in just the last 24 hours. That is basically to where it was before the war even started. And so that suggests that the straits really are open. We're not seeing any evidence that the Iranians are still closing down the Strait of Hormuz. It is going to take some time to clear those mines, though.
That's Vice President J.D. Vance disputing Iran's claim that the Strait of Hormuz is once again closed, as Tehran accuses the U.S. and Israel of violating terms of the proposed peace deal. CENTCOM also pushing back, saying safe passage through the international waterway remained intact today as 55 merchant ships transited, moving large amounts of cargo and more than 17 million barrels of oil to global markets. All this as drivers here at home finally get some relief at the pump, with oil and gas prices falling to their lowest level in months. AAA says the national average for a gallon of gas is finally under $4 at $3.95. That's down 13 cents from last week and 60 cents from a month ago. Let's bring in Lipow Oil Associates President Andy Lipow. Andy, how long is it going to take everything to get back to normal?
Well, thanks very much for having me. Getting back to normal, if you're looking at it as pre-conflict levels, is actually several years away, as there's been some significant damage to the oil and gas infrastructure in the Middle East. But if we're thinking about getting back to, say, 70 to 80% of pre-conflict levels, then we're kind of looking at 3 to 6 months to get production ramped back up, as well as refinery repairs to be made, and to start cranking out gasoline, diesel fuel, and jet fuel to reach the consumer.
But it's not necessarily a done deal. I mean, there are items yet to be negotiated, right?
That's exactly right, and that's what the oil market is worried about. The recent reopening of the Strait of Hormuz is allowing up to 60 to 80 million barrels of oil that was trapped on tankers to exit rather quickly. But the next steps are a little bit harder to put in place. We need those mines to be cleared, a safe shipping lane to be established, insurance companies to give the go-ahead. Now, once all that happens, we'll send empty tankers into Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Iraq to start loading oil to make room so they can increase their production.
We talked about how gas prices were 50% higher, 50 cents higher, I should say, just a month ago. It seems like, the oil market is really responding more to events than to actual supplies, because it's not like all of a sudden those 16 million barrels of oil have been refined and turned into gasoline.
Well, that's right. When we think about how the world coped with the supply disruption, it was through the release of strategic petroleum reserves, as well as the drawdown of commercial inventories. And of course, that cannot go on forever. So we've been fortunate, if you will, that the oil price has never spiked because we didn't reach those commercial minimum levels. However, had the conflict gone on for another few months, we certainly would have gotten to very, very low levels, including the releases from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
I want to play this from our strategic analyst, General Jack Keane, who says economic depression is averted if the strait remains open. Listen.
The advisors to the president landed the idea that given the oil prices and gas prices by the closure of the Straits of Hormuz, coupled with the ability of Iran to retaliate against oil and gas infrastructure in the region militarily, that would lead to a world depression. And that put us in a major diplomatic phase that we're in right now.
So obviously the United States was motivated to negotiate, but the Iranians had their own motivations, right?
Well, they do. I mean, of course, here in the U.S., we're looking for lower energy prices, but at the same time, Iran needed the blockade to be lifted in order to get revenue from oil sales in order to help their economy, which really has been decimated through corruption of the government.
All right. I want to put up the inflation figures from 2025 versus now. Food is up 3%, gas up 40.5%, energy up almost 24%. A lot of that has to do with the disruptions caused by what's going on in Iran.
Well, it does. And we do talk quite a bit about gasoline prices, but make no mistake, diesel prices and fertilizer prices are much higher than pre-conflict levels. And of course, you see that through the agricultural industry. The price of food and the cost to deliver that food to the grocery store is going up, as well as on natural gas, where the attacks on the Qatari LNG infrastructure impacted 20% of the LNG supplies in the world. And while the U.S. is quite fortunate to be a large exporter, in fact, the biggest exporter of LNG, that is certainly not the case for Asia and Europe. And they're seeing the brunt of these higher energy prices.
President Trump just put out a statement on Truth Social saying there will not be any tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. Andy Lipow. Andy, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.